Is going on, everybody? It is 219 Football here, coming back at you with another video, and welcome to NFL free agency, everybody. Tons of signings on day one around the league, and I'm going to be detailing the real big winners of day one, the biggest signings, all the trades, everything that has happened. Yeah, there's going to be a lot going on. There's already been a lot going on this morning. When I'm recording this, obviously you can see here Javon Holland signed with the Giants, Will Fries signed with the Vikings. A few things happened, but I'm mostly going to be detailing what happened mostly day one, with a few things from the start of day two as well. But if you do enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more NFL content. I have draft content as well coming up, and a lot more free agency stuff as well. So yeah, like and subscribe for more, and let's get into this free agency episode. So starting off with the Buffalo Bills, not a whole lot has happened. Obviously, a lot of this just kind of re-signing a lot of stuff. They got Michael Hoyt from the Rams. But yeah, just re-signing a lot of guys. They got Josh Palmer, who should be a decent receiver on the outside. Yeah, not much going on for the Buffalo Bills, really. The Dolphins have done a little bit. They signed James Daniels, Ifeatu Melifonwu, I believe was this morning. Zach Wilson's their backup quarterback now. Maybe he could prove something if Tua gets hurt. Who knows? Probably not, but we'll see. But the New England Patriots are the first real big winner. They went out and they are spending cash. They got Josh Dobbs, backup quarterback, Mac Hollins on the outside. Obviously, you still look to upgrade that wide receiver position, but overall, most of the options are gone. But you could look to get Cooper Kupp, as he's probably being released by the Rams soon, since they could not find a trade partner. So Cooper Kupp is always an option. They re-signed Austin Hooper, and they signed tackle Morgan Moses to a 3-year, $24 million deal. Looking to protect Drake May is a big deal, and Morgan Moses may not be the best tackle in the world, but it was not a very good tackle class in free agency, so getting one of the better ones in the class works out, and always upgrading on the offensive line is a good thing. So Morgan Moses, more of a short-term fix, but can definitely be a solid piece on that offensive line. And then the big one, Milton Williams, probably the best defensive lineman in the entire free agency class. 4-year, $104 million deal, $51 million fully guaranteed. Just a massive contract for a massive player, really. Milton Williams was super good on that Eagles defensive line last season, and he almost went to the Carolina Panthers, but instead stuck to the New England Patriots. So yeah, that defensive line is looking a little better for New England. They got Milton Williams now. They have Keon White. They could look to draft possibly a pass rusher. Well, never mind. I take that back. They also signed Harold Landry earlier, I believe on Sunday or Saturday. Yeah, the defensive line is looking a lot better for New England. And yeah, they also signed Robert Spillane and Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis could be a very good CB2 opposite Christian Gonzalez. Carlton Davis didn't have his best year last year, but he was also asked to be a CB1, and Carlton Davis could be a much better CB2 in the role that New England will ask him to play. Robert Spillane, pretty good linebacker from the Raiders. They get him. Still looking to upgrade their defense. There's just a lot of pieces that they still need, even with all these free agent signings. But good starts, filling some needs here, and going out and spending money. Mike Vrabel wants to get this team up and running early. All they are missing now, in my opinion, is just a top-tier wide receiver, but they could always take that at number 4, take someone like Teterow and McMillan to give Drake May a big target on the outside. New York Jets. The big signing here, obviously, is Justin Fields. 2 years, $40 million with $30 million fully guaranteed. They got their quarterback for the next year or two, that's for sure. Justin Fields played a little bit with the Steelers last year, eventually got benched in favor of Russell Wilson, but he led them to a 4-2 record. He didn't play fantastic, but he got the job done for the most part. But he will need to improve if he wants to make a good run with this Jets team and be their future quarterback. It's a very low chance that that does happen, but he can always develop. He's always got the tools. So not a long-term commitment from the Jets to Justin Fields, but a decent option with a decent money for Fields. And we'll see how this works out. But he's going to be throwing to Garrett Wilson. Can have Breece Hall. We'll see how it plays out with Justin Fields. Overall, the Jets have not made too many signings. Jamie Sherwood re-signing is very good, and then Brandon Stevens is a questionable one, giving him a 3-year, $36 million contract after he was just awful last year with the Ravens. Maybe you think he fits your system better and that you can help him improve, but opposite of Sauce Gardner, he should be hopefully a little bit better, or else this contract you gave him is going to be really bad. Andre Cisco as well, 1-year deal, $10 million, pretty good safety from Jacksonville. So now, Ronnie Stanley resigning with the Ravens is the only thing they've done so far. The Bengals have done a few things, nothing crazy. TJ Slayton, Oren Burks, re-signing a few players, but nothing insane for the Cincinnati Bengals. Browns, obviously re-signing Myles Garrett is a huge deal, and then as well acquiring Kenny Pickett, who might just end up being their starter next year. We'll see what they want to do in the draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously acquiring DK Metcalf, but that did not happen yesterday. That happened on Sunday, I believe. And then signing Malik Harrison to do a 2-year, $10 million deal. Overall, just nothing crazy for the Steelers. Now, the Houston Texans, they've done a decent bit. They signed Braxton Berrios. Christian Kirk was acquired in a trade a few days ago. They've got Darrell Taylor to a 1-year deal, Justin Watson, Sheldon Rankins. So nothing insane, but the big thing is trading away Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders. I don't understand it. Last year you had tons of trouble protecting CJ Stroud, and that was a big reason for your offense taking a step back last year. So why would you go and trade your best lineman for not even that good of pick compensation? Let's find the Commanders here and see if they have the compensation. Or you received a 3rd and 7th round pick this year and a 2nd next year for Laramie Tunsil, one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL, and a 4th round pick, which again, the big thing last year was struggling to protect CJ Stroud, and now you just shoveled off one of the best offensive tackles on the market for a 2nd round pick next year, and then a mid-round pick and a 7th round pick this year. It just doesn't make any sense. Especially, I mean, I guess if you have Josh Simmons falling to you, then sure, but you could have always just taken interior linemen there, and then overall your offensive line's just better as a whole. And the big issue is, what if Josh Simmons gets taken before your pick, and then you have to pivot to someone like Josh Connerly, who's not as good of a prospect as someone like Josh Simmons or those top tier tackles, in my opinion. And I don't know, it's just really a strange decision by the Houston Texans to just continue to neglect their offensive line in protecting their franchise quarterback, who was a big issue in his regression last year, was he had little to no protection. So just really a mind-boggling decision by the Texans, and just it could come back to bite them. So the Indianapolis Colts fans rejoice. Chris Ballard has done anything, really. He has addressed the defensive side of the ball with the secondary, signing Charvarius Ward from the 49ers to a 3-year deal worth up to $60 million, 35 fully guaranteed, as well as Cameron Bynum from the Vikings to a 4-year, $60 million contract. Nothing insane in terms of like quantity, but there's certainly quality here. Charvarius Ward, one of the better cornerbacks in the entire NFL. Cameron Bynum, a good, solid safety from Minnesota, as well as re-signing Ashton Dulin, I'm a big fan of. But overall, finally, Chris Ballard spends some money in free agency. We did lose Will Fries, which really, really sucks. Wish we could have shipped off Braden Smith maybe to make room for a big contract for Will Fries, but overall, I am at least happy that Ballard is going out and spending some money, especially on the defense, where it was really rough last year in terms of the secondary. So big improvements there for the Indianapolis Colts. Definitely winning on the first day as Chris Ballard finally decides to put some money on the table in free agency. Another big winner, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have been going out and spending some good money. Nick Mullins, a decent backup quarterback. Nothing crazy. Dyami Brown to a 1-year, $10 million deal. Max of $12 million. Max of $12 million. But Dyami Brown had a pretty decent breakout year last year with the Commanders. He comes into Jacksonville, who just shipped off Christian Kirk. Could maybe fill that role that Kirk had. Trevor Lawrence gets himself a pretty speedy deep threat down the field as well to go along with the two he is on the outside with Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas. So, yeah, decent signing there. They agreed to Hunter Long, nothing crazy. Robert Hainsey to a $20 million deal. Patrick McCarry got a big contract as well from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then Jordan Lewis becoming the highest paid nickel defender, I believe, in NFL history. 3 years, $30 million, $20 million fully guaranteed. And then as well, Eric Murray, 3-year, $22.5 million deal. The Jags had a big secondary problem last year, and they're looking to fill that really fast with signing Jordan Lewis from the Dallas Cowboys. And as well, looking to protect Trevor Lawrence a little bit more with getting Patrick McCarry. So, some really solid signings from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going out and spending money as well, and they do not want to be left in the basement again like they were last year after having hopes of maybe reaching the playoffs again after the year before. So they want to get back to playoff contention, so they are looking to spend some money, and they are definitely winning so far in free agency. The Titans, they've had an alright free agency. A lot of people are unhappy with this Dan Moore contract. Dan Moore's been an okay tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they go out and give him a 4-year, $82 million deal, and they lock him up to be their left tackle of the future, for the foreseeable future at least, or right tackle of the future. I forgot J.C. Latham is their left tackle. Yeah, J.C. Latham on the left side, so he looks to be your right tackle of the future. So could be a decent signing. We don't know, but overall looks to be a bit of an overpay for someone like Dan Moore. Obviously, it looks like they could be front-loading the contract, $30 million in year one. So we'll see if they end up cutting him after 2 or 3 years. But Dan Moore, tackle to the Titans, big contract. Re-signing Sebastian Joseph Day. Cody Barton as well agrees to a 3-year, $21 million contract. Was pretty good last year with the Washington Commanders, so this is a good enough signing by the Tennessee Titans to help that defense that was not great. The Denver Broncos as well have been decently active. They went out and signed Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga from the 49ers, both to 3-year deals. Greenlaw $35 million and Hufanga $45 million. So the Denver Broncos defense was really good last year, and it's only getting better. So Dre Greenlaw comes in to the linebacking room, which looks really good now. And then Hufanga as well can come in and be kind of their Kareem Jackson type that they used to have. And so, yeah, Hufanga and Greenlaw, some injury problems with both of them. But if they both can stay healthy, this defense is looking like a gauntlet to score on next year. The Chiefs haven't done a whole lot of outside signing. They got Jalen Moore and Elijah Mitchell, but overall it's just been a lot of re-signing from the Kansas City Chiefs, so nothing too crazy for the Chiefs, but a lot of re-signing. And they got Jalen Moore as well, who projects to be their left tackle for the foreseeable future. So the Las Vegas Raiders, of course, acquired Geno Smith a few days ago. Alex Kappa signed a few days ago. Agreed to extension with Max Crosby. But overall, nothing crazy in terms of free agency on day one. I believe they got Jeremy Chin and then Isaiah Polamau signed an extension. But nothing crazy for the Raiders. Now, the Chargers do get Najee Harris, former first-round pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who started his career off really well, but overall, the past few years has just not been what he was that first year. He comes behind a Chargers offense looking to run the ball. Maybe he enjoys a little bounce back year. We'll see. I don't think this stops the Chargers from taking running back in the first round, but I do think it's less likely now. And I think they probably go with more of a speed threat later in the draft. Probably someone like Bashal Tutin, maybe in the third round, or maybe in the second round they get Travion Henderson. We'll see, but they could look to go thunder and lightning with their running back selection in the first few rounds. Resign Bradley Bozeman, Khalil Mack returning. They got Dante Jackson. They got Elijah Molden to an extension. But overall, nothing crazy for the Chargers outside of Najee Harris. And then NFC East now. So the Dallas Cowboys haven't really done a whole lot. They got Robert Jones. They signed Javonte Williams to a 1 year, $3 million deal. Overall, just a lot of re-signing and yet another quiet offseason for the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones really kind of struggling to bring free agents to the Dallas Cowboys the past few years, and well, it's not looking too good right now. Another season where they just don't really go out and sign anybody, but we'll see. So the Giants have also been quite active. Re-signed Darius Slayton to a big deal, which probably a little bit overpay for someone like Darius Slayton, but you're going to need a receiver for whatever quarterback you bring in for this next year. They did sign Javon Holland this morning as well, which is a great deal. That probably pushes Jason Pinnock out of the starting role. And he slides in next to Tyler Nubin, and that's a pretty good secondary for the Giants coming up for this next year as well, because they signed Paulson Adebo to a 3-year, $18 million contract. So, yeah, this Giants secondary is looking pretty good. They have young pieces like Banks and Drew Phillips and Cordell Flott. And now they have Adebo and Holland as well, and then Tyler Nubin in the back end. So this Giants defense could be pretty tough next year, actually. It's just they really got to get the defense down. But overall, outside of those few signings, nothing insane. Just a few small contracts given out. The Philadelphia Eagles, the big one is re-signing Zach Bond, but that happened a few days ago. They did get Dorian Thompson-Robinson in that trade with the Cleveland Browns, as well as the 5th round pick. But overall, for free agency wise, not signing anybody. They did lose Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, but those are options that they can go in the first round maybe, or in the second round of the draft. And there's obviously a few pieces still left in free agency that the Eagles can swoop up. Washington Commanders, obviously the Deebo Samuel trade happened a few days ago, but Laramie Tunsil is the big one. This is huge. If you remember, if you watched any bit of that Commanders versus Buccaneers playoff game last year, you will know that Jaden Daniels was running for his life that entire game. He had no pass protection and yet was still moving the ball downfield, but obviously you want to protect your franchise quarterback. So Laramie Tunsil is a huge, huge upgrade on that tackle position for the Washington Commanders. Super, super solid pass protector, and can help out their offensive line immensely. And they can maybe look to go defense in the first round of the draft now that the tackle position is certainly improved. As well, they got Javon Kinlaw on probably a bit of an overpay for Javon Kinlaw, 3-year, $45 million deal. But overall, nothing outside of that for free agency day one, but Laramie Tunsil is the big one, and Jaden Daniels is definitely really happy right now. NFC North, Chicago Bears, Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney happened a few days ago. Very good signings for that as well. They got Drew Dahlman. This was the big fit that everybody had, was Dahlman to the Bears. And yeah, it happened. 3-year, $42 million contract. And they can finally get rid of Coleman Shelton, who was pretty bad last year. But Caleb Williams, certainly happy to have his interior offensive line significantly improved. As well, they signed Deo Odeyingbo from my Indianapolis Colts to a 3-year, $48 million contract. As well as Grady Jarrett to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal. Bit of an overpay for Grady Jarrett, who's had severe injury concerns, and He just hasn't been his old self the past few years. That's why he was cut. And then all of a sudden, Bears turn around and give him a big contract. Kind of a risk here taken by Ryan Poles, but maybe Grady Jarrett returns to form with his defensive line. We shall see. Dayo Odeyingbo, I don't think stops them from taking edge rusher in the first round, but I think it's less likely. I think maybe you play Odeyingbo on early downs. He's a really good run defender, but not a great pass rusher. You play him on early downs, but then maybe you draft a pass rusher in the first round, and he doesn't have to start right away, doesn't have all these big expectations, and then you can let him pin his ears back on third down and just rush the passer. Or you could say put Austin Booker in that role. Austin Booker has a lot of potential on the edge. Couldn't put it all together year one, but has a lot of juice out there, and maybe he's your third down pass rusher while Odeyingbo plays on early downs, and you take someone like running back in the first round. But overall, pretty good free agency so far for the Chicago Bears. The Detroit Lions haven't done a whole lot. They signed DJ Reed to be their corner alongside Terrion Arnold, but overall, nothing crazy. Derek Barnes signed an extension. Marcus Davenport re-signed. The Packers, Aaron Banks, 4 years, $77 million. This is a really not a favorite one by Packers fans. A lot of say him and Sean Ryan are just the same player. What happens with Jordan Morgan? What happens with just that entire interior offensive line? You gave out a big contract to Aaron Banks, and there's a lot of shuffling that needs to be done to make this deal work. And yeah, it's a big contract to someone who wasn't particularly fantastic last year, but we'll see how it works out. But this has been a not a favorite one by Packers fans. Nate Hobbs to a 4-year, $48 million deal as well. So pretty good contract there for the Packers. They needed to upgrade at corner. Nate Hobbs probably helps them do that. Re-sign Brandon McManus. So not a whole lot here for the Packers, but they made some pretty big signings for good or bad. We'll see with the Packers. The Minnesota Vikings, as you guys know, I have been taking interior offensive line to the Minnesota Vikings in my mock drafts, and maybe I'll look somewhere else because they have Ryan Kelly and Will Fries they picked up in free agency. Will Fries to a 5-year, $88 million deal, who was super good with the Colts last year. Chris Ballard just couldn't keep him around. Wish he could have, but he goes on to the Vikings, gets a big contract, and looks to be that guard of the future, protecting J.J. McCarthy. Ryan Kelly to a shorter-term contract, 2-year, $18 million. Kelly is probably on his way out of being a starting center in the NFL. Was not very good with the Colts last year, so I am fine with Kelly walking, but the Vikings get a decent piece for the next 2 years on that center position. But Jonathan Allen as well, 3-year, $60 million. Big contract to an interior defensive line that needed upgrading, so they get that. They re-signed Byron Murphy as well. They signed Theo Jackson and re-signed their punter. So overall, a very good free agency so far, in my opinion, for the Minnesota Vikings. You look to protect J.J. McCarthy in the future, and you upgrade that weak interior defensive line as well. So helping out both sides of the ball in the trenches, really good. I love what the Vikings are doing so far. And then the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons signing Jake Matthews to an extension, and then Devon Diablo to a 2-year, $14 million deal. So nothing insane, but they do get Diablo from the Raiders, who is okay and can help be a stable presence in the linebacker position. But overall, the Falcons have been pretty quiet so far. The Carolina Panthers as well, someone who almost had Milton Williams. They had him, but he went to the New England Patriots for more money. But overall, the Panthers have still had a pretty good free agency. They signed Patrick Jones to a 2-year deal for $20 million. Helps be a alright edge presence while they look to get a future option there, possibly in the draft off the edge. As well, they hand out a big contract to Tershawn Wharton, 3 years, $54 million. as well. Nose tackle Bobby Brown, 3 years, $21 million. Overall, some good signings on the defensive line, that was very bad last year, so they are looking to improve that. They signed Jaycee Horn as well to an extension, which is the highest. Jaycee Horn is now the highest paid defensive back in NFL history. Obviously, really expensive, but with how bad this defense was last year, you could not afford to lose Jaycee Horn. You had to re-sign him, so you had to give him what he wanted, and if that was giving him the biggest contract to a DB in NFL history, then you had to do it. You have to keep Jaycee Horn around because he is an integral part to that defense. Even if he's not a top 5 corner in the NFL, he's still a very good corner. Keeping him around is integral to the future of this defense and this team. Signed Mike Jackson and Trayvon Merrick as well, helps their safety position for sure. 3 years, $51 million for the safety from the Las Vegas Raiders. So a good overall signing there for the Carolina Panthers. Overall, they are looking really good so far. Pretty decent free agency so far, and looking to upgrade even more in the draft. I'm excited to see what next season is for the Carolina Panthers. Saints have also been pretty quiet. They got Devon Godshaw in a trade with the Patriots for a 7th round pick, but nothing crazy. They re-sign Chase Young as well. But Chris Godwin re-signing with the Bucks is a huge one in my opinion. I think that is a massive deal. 3 years, $66 million with 44 fully guaranteed. Baker Mayfield is certainly happy right now to have his top 2 targets back. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. If you lost Chris Godwin, you might have been in a pretty bad situation. Obviously, you still have Mike Evans, but he's probably on his way out. Got a few good years left in him, but he's not a long-term starter for you. He's probably just for the next 2-3 years. And other than that, you would have had Jalen McMillan, who was good last year, but is still didn't really flash wide receiver 1 upside, and maybe not even wide receiver 2, but he was a super solid wide receiver 3. And then Trey Palmer obviously didn't get a ton of playing time last year because of Jalen McMillan coming in from Washington. But Chris Godwin, now you return that receiving core from last year, and you look to keep this window open with this offense and Baker Mayfield. Re-signed Brad Bredesen, and a few re-signings as well with Levante David as well. You sign Hassan Reddick to a 1-year deal, which helps shore up that edge position for the next season. And maybe he has a bounce back year. Maybe he returns to what he was with Philadelphia, but he could be a stable position opposite your other edge rusher, maybe Yaya Diaby, to be a decent edge option while you look to get the long-term solution there, maybe in the draft. Now, last division here, NFC West. The Arizona Cardinals, the big one is Josh Sweat, 4 years, $76.4 million. Big contract to a pretty good edge rusher from the Eagles. Looking to upgrade that defensive line immensely, as they really kind of need to. Obviously, you're getting B.J. Ojolari back next year as well. You have Darius Robinson, but neither of those players are guaranteed. They've obviously dealt with their fair share of injuries. But Josh Sweat gives you a stable presence on the edge. He's not some top-tier pass rusher, but he's a overall really solid pass rusher. And other than that, nothing too crazy for the Arizona Cardinals, signing Akeem Davis-Gaither to a 2-year, $11 million deal. The Los Angeles Rams overall didn't do a whole lot on free agency day one. They signed Poona Ford to a 3-year deal, and also re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo. But overall, free agency-wise, Davante Adams, really big signing for them, re-signing Alaric Jackson. So decent free agency so far for the Rams, as even if they haven't gone out and gotten too many players on day one, they had Davante Adams as well. Now, the San Francisco 49ers have lost a lot of pieces in free agency. They also informed Kyle Juszczyk that he's being released. So, kind of a troubling free agency for the 49ers here. They're losing a lot of pieces that don't know if they can exactly replace. Luke Farrell, they signed to a 3-year deal for $20 million. Definitely not a winner so far. They've been losing a lot of pieces, and their championship window might be completely falling apart. Now, the Seattle Seahawks, big signing, Sam Darnold to a 3-year, $100 million deal, 55 fully guaranteed for the former Vikings quarterback. Gets a big payday after his breakout year last year. issue is he doesn't have all these receivers to throw to that he would have had. Say Lockett has been released and DK Metcalf to the Steelers, but Sam Darnold, big contract, and he could look to be a stable quarterback position. Maybe not your future option, but he could be someone like a Geno Smith, someone who can come in for 3 years and give you pretty good quarterback play as you make a playoff push. Uh, but other than that, nothing crazy. They signed Josh Jones to a 1 year deal, but they need to look to upgrade that interior offensive line, whether it's in the rest of free agency or in the draft. Because if you don't have that interior offensive line figured out, Sam Darnold might be in a world of hurt next year, as his pressure pocket awareness is not incredible. So yeah, that was recapping free agency day one. If you guys did like that video, be sure to like, subscribe for more content. Um, there's going to be more free agency videos and more draft content coming up as well. So, yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.